I suppose, firstly, Sir Alex, before the bid, you said that the people of Glasgow and their hospitality would help make Euro 2020. How important are the Euros now to help people reconnect after the lockdown, and how important it will be to have fans back at Hampden?
Well, I think that's what the search for the last year has been, to get fans back in. And I think that obeying the instructions of the lockdown and things like that really have been important, and we should always remember that. But for instance, what fans are really is the history of their family. Your grandfather took your father to the games, your father took his kids to the games. That coming back is a great boost for all the young kids in particular, going to see their country again, or going to see their local team again, which has been void. A year for a young kid is a long time. So getting them back creates the future for them, being able to go back and watching their team. And that's what every father and grandfather did in my time. You know, me as a kid, I go back to when I was 6, 7 years of age, going to see, well, my dad was originally a Celtic fan, took us to Celtic games. Then when I went to school, I was a Rangers fan, you see, and I stayed that way. But nonetheless, we were always enthralled by how Scotland performed, going way back. There's some great teams back in the 50s, of course, you know. But getting them back, the fans back, is a boost to the game, because as we know, it's not the same game. I mean, I go to watch United, it's a ghost town. There's no atmosphere whatsoever. And to get that back, that's what the players need, and in particular the supporters getting back watching their team.
What do you think it will mean for the city, especially after over a year of a pandemic? Can this be the elixir that the city and the nation needs?
Well, I think it's a boost they need. You know, I think that it's been a long process of lockdowns and discipline to get over the hurdle of it all, and we've seen the rising toll of deaths, and you know, people contacting the COVID. It's not been an easy time, and I mean, for instance, from March the 15th to June the 20-something, I never went out of the house. You know, I stayed in the house every day, and I realised I had to do that, and I found enjoyment to be able to get through that period, as my wife did too. Read books, watched TV, you know, did other things, and because I knew it was really important to have a discipline to get through it. Now that's now in a release for everyone to be able to go out there and walk about, and you know that you can sit outside restaurants, and it's getting back to normal, and it's maybe not going to be immediate, but the important thing is it's there. The future is looking brighter, much brighter, and I think that the fans, in particular the Glaswegians, will recognise that and go back watching their teams, and particularly watching Scotland.
Well, I was going to say, in that time we've managed to qualify for a major tournament for the first time in 23 years. What did you make of that drama in Serbia? And can this be the catalyst for more success?
Absolutely. We talk about, you know, the tragedy of the Tartan Army wasn't there. You know, they've been following their team for 100 years. You know that. You know, I always remember Italy, the World Cup in Italy. The fans there are unbelievable. So we're missing that, and they missed that. But on that penalty kick shoot, when they scored, Serbia scored in the last minute, I thought, oh, Christ almighty, extra time, no chance. But they saw it through, they dug their heels in, they really did. But David Marshall's save, I didn't even know. That was it. He didn't know whether he qualified or not, and everybody's jumping on top of him. And then the Ryan Christie interview, Chris, I was crying when I saw him crying. It was fantastic. I mean, you talk about a boost to the country. That was, I mean, it was fantastic.
And you would have felt it as well, because we talked about what it means, and because it's been so long, when people say if Scotland qualify, it's really special.
Yeah.
But until it actually happens, you would have felt it. at home as well, feeling
yeah,
the kind of national pride.
I remember the 98 World Cup, going 1-0 up against Brazil in the first game in Paris. You know, it was phenomenal. We're beating Brazil 1-0, you know, and although it didn't materialise, nonetheless, the excitement for Scottish fans even doing that. The same back in '82 when they scored first against Brazil. No, we've had our moments, and that was another great moment against Serbia. That was fantastic, that.
And as you said, given that people had been forced to stay at home, football mercifully has been one of the constants that you could watch at TV. It gave the nation a reason to smile. It
was a saviour, actually. Being able to see it on TV, and I'm sure that it must have been half the country would have watched that night. You know, it was fantastic. And David Marshall, I think we'll always remember David Marshall's reaction. You know, and Ryan Christie interview. These are special moments that encapsulate exactly what it meant to everyone. Ryan Christie was crying for Scotland. Every Scottish fan. David Marshall made a save that every Scot wished they'd made. Every Scottish goalkeeper. So it resonates because of the love that Scotland have for football. You know, and it was amazing. It was really amazing.
And now, after qualifying, as you know, with national expectation, you'll know Steve Clarke. He wants to get out the group now. So, having led Scotland into a World Cup yourself, what do you make of the journey so far, and what can Steve and the nation expect as we start to build for the finals?
Well, the thing that's impressed me about Steve is unflappable. Doesn't matter if the team's doing well or doing badly. His demeanour does not change. He's composed, he's calm, and I think that transmits itself to the team. So there's no panic. And I think, watching them, they have been playing quite well. I think it's the old story, and we've been saying it for quite a long time, is the scoring of goals. And actually the performance level has been very good. I've been impressed. I think Steve's done a really good job. And he's got that, he's getting, with every game you manage Scotland, there's something added to your experience of it. Because, the end thing is what you're after, to give the joy to the Serbia game. Get that moment again and again and again. And it's a build-up, because I look at the team and I look at the midfield players I've got, and I think they're as good as anyone. They're really good top midfield players. And your players are playing in England. It's Tierney's been fantastic at Arsenal, absolutely fantastic. Robertson, the last 2 years of Liverpool was unbelievable, and McTominay is now emerging as one of Man United's big players. When you watch Man United pick the team for a big game, McTominay's name's in it. Good character, great trainer. I know a little bit about the boy. And I think that's it. That's the background. And again, coming through Aston Villa has been fantastic. So we've got some really good midfield players. And hopefully, that's where the strength is going to come from. So I'm optimistic. What the games are coming up, the group games, very tough. I think you would recognise that. Winnable
games, and it wouldn't have been the norm that you would have two home games effectively in a major finals as well. How big a benefit is it having those two home games and the only away game in the group against the old enemy?
Yeah, well, the important thing about the home games is, particularly if we've got fans back in. Yeah. I know it's only 12,000 people, but 12,000 at Hampden, where they get going, is just what 50,000 at Wembley. Yeah. We can create the atmosphere all right. There's no doubt about that. I think that the one thing I do warn against it is paying too much attention to the England match. I think if you get a result in every one of those games, you're going to give yourself a chance of qualifying. The England game looks after itself. Getting a result against Czechoslovakia, imperative. If we get a win there and a win against Croatia, that's an incredible. Don't forget Croatia World Cup final. And Czechoslovakia have always produced good players. There's no question about that. And of course, we know all about England anyway. But looking after those two games, and the England game will look after itself, I'm hopeful we can do well.
And you touched on Scott before, and Scots have always been synonymous with Manchester United. When you look at the career that Darren has had as well for his country and back at the club again, how excited are you with the potential of Scott McTominay? There's a young player who can play a number of positions, but has really grown in stature over the last year.
Yeah, as a kid, I signed him when he was 7 or 8 years of age. And he was actually at the beginning a centre forward when he was a kid. Yeah. But he's emerged over the last, well, what I think is he sprouted, you know, like a little bit with Darren when he first came. Darren had a few little annoying injuries as he was growing, and he needed some rest periods and things like that. But McTominay is of a similar type as Darren, you know, bit long, lanky, good winner of the ball, good turn of pace going forward, great attitude to the game, just like Darren. All these attributes what Darren Fletcher had, he's got them. But he's become a real, even if you go back to my time with Darren, big games, we very seldom left Darren out, particularly playing against Arsenal. He was fantastic against Arsenal. When I put him against Vieira, I had no problems. But McTominay's following those guidelines that Darren pursued for a long time with United. So it's really rewarding for me to see a Scot coming through. Dan was one. McClair was a great Scot. He was a fantastic player, McClair. So we've been blessed with great Scotsmen right through. Let's get back to the King, Dennis Law. I mean,
absolutely.
But a lot of great Scots in the team, and it makes you proud that that United are blessed with the fact that Scots have made an impact in the club. You know.
And for the national team, you've got those players at an age that can have an international career for 10 years or more. You've got the likes of Billy Gilmore, who might be next in line. So the future's looking good.
Well, that's another young kid that's emerging. I saw him play for Chelsea in one of the games towards the start of the season. He did really well. And I think that he got an injury, held him back a bit. But I'm sure that he's been knocking on the door. I think it was a sub last week for Chelsea, in fact. And he is an emerging player, there's no question with that. And that is also good to see that there's younger players coming through to fill the quality of Scottish players in England in particular. McLean at Norwich, he's been doing fantastic. He's had a great season. You know, so we're blessed with good young midfield players coming through.
This week marks 50 days to go to the finals, and Harmony Row, your old team, will be the first to receive one of the 50 legacy packs. How important is it that for the next generation, especially out of a pandemic, that there is a legacy and that clubs like Harmony Row benefit from the Euros?
Well, the point I was making about Harmony Row earlier on is they've been operating for over 100 years. And in my time, I joined at 8 years of age, the Harmony Row Boys Club. Me and my three pals went up. We heard about Harmony Row Boys Club. And those three ended up being there into their 20s. I left, although I was still a member of the club, but I left the team at 14 years of age to go to Drumchapel Amateurs, which was a big incentive at the time because they were the top boys club team in Scotland. So they lived their whole life playing for Harmony Row. And what they did then, Harmony Row, was, you would go there on a Sunday and it'd be maybe 40, 50 kids in there playing table tennis, basketball, everything, pool, a lot, dancing. These are the dance classes.
You wouldn't have taken part in that.
The girls were on one side of the hall and then the boys on the other side. But they are famous for looking after young people. And Govan, at the time, was just prior to the demise of the shipyards. So they've recovered from that and still benefit young kids growing up in that area, because like any working class area, it's got its pitfalls, it's got its dangers. Harmony Row, at least they're doing something to point the young kids in the right direction. And getting this award from the SFA is a great boost. It's not just a great boost to them, they're all boys clubs teams are all young people growing up in Glasgow, and the inspiration of being rewarded for their determination to do well for young people. Is if they get that reward, then it's a wonderful thing.
And I suppose it shows as well that, yes, qualifying is important, but connecting with young people, giving people that opportunity is almost more important than the tournament itself to keep the game growing.
100%. They're talking about grassroots soccer all the time now, in this very moment in time with this talk that's been going on. You know, I always think that how it's changed for young people growing up to be footballers, because in my time you had the streets, you had the back courts, you played in bits of ground were uneven, bits of brick coming out the ground, and you know that made you players. And playing in the street to all hours, they can't do that now. And I was reading something about Germany, the number of AstroTurf pitches they have in Germany as opposed to Great Britain. It's something like 4 times, you know. So there's always an incentive to do better for young people, in particular how they're going to achieve their skills and their talents, and given the right platform for that. And I think that even going back a few years now, I think Scotland has been recognising that, and they're trying to do something about it. The rewards are when you see somebody like McTominay, McGinn, Tierney and Robertson coming through, and young boy Gilmer, you know, that's what a young boy can achieve with given the right platforms and the right care to make sure they do the right things and get there.